Hi there, thank you so much for clicking the thumbnail and being interested in my work. In this video, part 1, I will share with you how I draw the outline and the underpainting. So be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. For the outline drawing, first of all what I'll do is create a centre mark on my board and then put a centre mark on my image on the computer there. This outline drawing will be a combination of cross-reference and also just freehand, so just roughly trying to work out where it will be, and then what I'll do is check points here and there with the ruler. So it's just a cross-reference, so you're measuring the width against the height. So you point your cursor on the tip of where you want to measure, and then if you look here, over here, there's the ruler. So there's a little mark. You see when I put the cursor, can you see it? It's actually creating a little dash line there. Well, that will tell me where it is. So if I point on to that, it'll be 8 and 8¼ inches. Same on the depth. So when I point that, it's got the same sort of line, dotted line across. So then when I put it onto the tip of the beak there, you're looking at nearly 4¼ there. So it's 4 3/16. So then you've got your mark. Now I have got a video in my channel that goes in depth how I use that method. There's 3 ways how to draw the outline, so please check that out at the end of the video. I would recommend just using the odd reference point though, and do most of it freehand. What I'm doing here is just to do my freehand and then just checking to see if I'm accurate with the actual the way I've drawn it. And in this instant it was spot on to what the actual cross-reference was. So it's a good way of checking to see if the eye is getting used to doing the freehand. I mean, at the start you can use quite a few reference points, then get less and less as you progress. It's a good way to learn how to do freehand. Now the pencil I'm using for the outline is a CarbOthello 708. Now it's a great pencil to use because it's slightly darker than the actual pastel matte colour I use, which is dark grey. So even when you do rub it out with a kneadable eraser, you can hardly see where it's been. So I'm just going to speed this up a little bit now, so it gives me more time to actually show you real-time footage of actually how I put the colours together and how I mix them. So basically I'm just going to go through this pretty quick. Now the best tip I can give you for actually drawing the outline freehand is to actually have the image quite small so you see the whole thing. So you can actually feel the energy, feel the movement while you're drawing it. So you're actually sensing, and this feeling will flow through you into your outline and it'll feel like it's moving. And that's what you need, you see. You don't really want it to be a cutout of a bird in the background. I mean, to connect to that is really, I mentioned this in loads of my videos, just let go of the mind, open up awareness, open the heart, and sense and become that bird. Become the environment around it and just feel and let it flow through you. Here's a selection of pencils I'm using for the underdrawing, mainly CarbOthello and Conti Paris pencils. Reason being is that they're quite chalky, so it makes it quite easy then to apply it, and it's a great base for when I start putting the next layer on, which will be the next video, which will be all the rich colours and vibrancy with the Caran pencils. Stage the underdrawing, I'm not concerned at all about details. All this is to correct my outline drawing and to sort of map out where these elements go. So what I'm basically doing is using the brown and purple for the darks, using orange, lemon yellow and burnt sienna for the goldy colours, and using white first down and then glazing colour on the top as well. Totally forget about that cross-reference now, because it's so important to do all this freehand now and just relax and let it flow, because if you start using these measurements you'll get scared of just flowing with it. Now they're only there for a little bit of guidance to start with when you're doing the outline, but I really recommend letting go as soon as you can. Just having the freedom to express yourself freehand, it just is amazing. You just really connect and to the energy and the movement. It's very difficult to find pencils that are exactly the same colour as what your actual reference image is, so that's the thing with pastels, you have to mix on the actual board. Now the blue, I've used a warm blue, it's like a Prussian blue, and then I've used lemon yellow mix. So what I tend to do is just map out the area and then just glaze with those two colours, and it seemed to do the trick, and then use brown and blue then for the actual shadows of that. Now here's some real time, just showing you how I'm mapping it out with the white, and just sort of get a feel for where things go. But like I say, you're not really drawing the exact detail, it's just the placement that what I'm doing at this stage is getting the placement right. So I'm putting this bright white in first, so then that gives me an idea then of a reasonable value. Again, I'm not really interested too much on getting the value correct at this stage, the underdrawing. That will all be in the next video. So what I've done here now is just glazing with this warm blue, and then using the lemon yellow to actually make it more of a Kingfisher blue. Now when I say warm blue, if you think of the colour wheel where the blue is, and now if it goes towards the yellow it's warmer, if it goes towards the red it's colder. So that's how I'm gauging whether it's warm or cold. Using a burnt umber colour now to sort of get the shape of the shadows, and mix a little bit of that same warm blue in there with it, and then using the white again, mapping out. So it's a combination of all these these pencils. I avoid using black in the underdrawing, just used brown and blue, which creates like a black colour. All the intensity and richness and vibrancy will be in the next video when I start putting the actual vibrant colours on, the rich colours. If you're enjoying this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Now I'm using the colours, now how I'm mixing the colours, I'm using like primary colours, which are lemon yellow. For the red I'm using burnt sienna, and then for the blue I'm using the warm blue. Now I'm using brown and blue for the darker shadows, and then occasionally I'll just use a secondary colour of orange, just to sort of get it down there quick. But you can mix that orange by using burnt sienna and lemon yellow, which makes a goldy colour really. So I'm just using that orange now and again, but mainly mixing it with the burnt sienna and the lemon yellow. Now to create that lighter feel, I'm putting the white down first, then glaze over with the colour. Now it's not the correct value at the moment, but like I say, I'm not really that interested in getting that correct at the moment. It's all about getting the shape and where everything is, so it's just a planning stage. But even this even though it's just a planning stage, I'm really connecting to the movement, to the feel. All the time I'm letting go of thinking about doing this, and all I'm doing is sensing and being one with the bird, and sensing that water splash, sense the energy of that bird, sense the wonder of nature all around it, and draw that and just let it flow through you. It's hard to explain how this happens, but the more you open your heart and the more you let go of the mind, because the mind will try and control things and name things. It'll name, oh, I've got to do these feathers next, and then that'll just tense everything up. But if you don't see it as feathers and you just see it as light and shade and movement and energy, it's amazing how different experience you will feel when you're actually painting with pastels. And if you notice how far my fingers are away from the tip, this will create looseness. So the further you are away from the tip of the pencil, the looser the marks. And you really want it loose when it's all sort of movement and this blurred sort of feathers of the Kingfisher. Right, I've slowed it right down again so you can see me how I map it out with the white first. So I'm just getting the shapes right, and then just glaze over them with burnt sienna to start with, and then I'm using the sort of umber brown and then the warm blue together, which creates greys, and then it's a combination then of using the lemon yellow and the burnt sienna, which creates golds. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my patrons for all the amazing support every month by pledging. Really appreciate it, means a lot to me. If you're interested or are considering joining me on Patreon and want to have the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth videos, please check out the link in the description below. This painting of the Kingfisher will be on my Patreon at some point. It will be the whole footage slowed down to almost real time so you can see every mark, and then I give you narration on the very important parts. So be sure to check that out when it's available. Right, just slowing this down to real time now so I can just explain to you how I go through the procedure of checking the pencils I've got with the actual reference image and seeing how I can mix them together to create the sort of colour I'm looking for. So I'm just playing really just to see what procedure is for start with. It's always a good idea to do this, just to suss out what's needed. It just saves time. So here's the few greys I'm using, but then I'll glaze over the top of that with the primary colours, and then I use the brown and blue for the sort of shadow areas along with that dark grey. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. It would mean so much to me, as this will help the channel to grow. I really love water. I spent a lot of time around water, with one of my hobbies being fishing, but I really love the element of it, and to draw it is always, you know, a treat for me. And this is just an underdrawing, so all I'm doing really is mapping out the actual splashes and the movement. So again, I'm letting go of the mind and naming things and just sort of feel the flow of it and the sort of energy behind what's happening within the sort of reference image. Now, I'm not really concerned about the colours or getting the value right. It's all about just getting the movement, the feel and the placement of all these elements. Just showing a little bit of real time, just showing you what I'm doing here, just using the dark grey and then using the white to map it out, and then just getting some sort of tones in there. It's just a case of shaping it and getting the feel and the movement that bird has actually, you know, dived into the water and then it's come out. So you've got to have a feeling that it's the energy is going outwards. So it's quite interesting to actually paint. Now I'm glazing over with the primary colours, which is like the warm blue again, lemon yellow, and then occasionally I'll use a bit of burnt sienna here and there. If you do get lost in this and you feel as though it's starting to get a bit of a sort of a jumble of things, it's just to sort of walk away from it. Take a few minutes just to do some deep breathing, just in a different room, and then just pop back after about 5-10 minutes and then start again afresh. But while you're sitting in a room, just let go of the mind, just try and keep calm and just be in the moment and come back afresh. Now, just roughing out the rest of this, I'm using burnt umber, yellow ochre, and then a sort of grey, the same grey as I've used for the outline, the 708, and then using the white, sort of blend it in, and then a bit of burnt sienna with it, and just sort of get it loose, and just filling that tooth up a little bit, because it's all going to change when I start doing the next coat. I might even leave this really subtle and sort of more sort of misty than what the reference image is, and let the detail be around where the bird is, so it'll make it look more 3D. So I'm going to play about with that later, I think, in the next video. It will seem quite scratchy really when you start putting this on to start with, but it's just how it's just the nature of the actual technique. But it will smooth up eventually, especially with these sort of chalky pastels. You just keep layer after layer after layer, and it builds up texture and sort of interest as well. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Please keep a lookout for part 2, which will be next week, where I'll be putting all the rich colours in, making it more 3D and making that sort of dynamic movement. So be sure to check that one out. Here's how the painting looks so far. Thank you so much for watching the video right to the end. If you enjoyed that and you want to see more of my videos, here's some links that you might be interested in.